Assalamu alaikum and welcome to today's video where we will start a new topic and it will be on conditions and loops. Actually today we will only cover some topics or mainly the topics regarding conditions, and loops will be studied later on. So in this slide overall we have conditional statements, nested conditions, loops, nested loops, and the combination of loop and condition to make some new stuff, that is loop control using conditional statements. So first up is conditional statement. When we say conditional statement, what do we mean? Suppose a conditional statement, if I just say about it in general terms, you will say something like if you listen to me then I will help you. Okay, this is actually a conditional statement or a conditional sentence that you provide some condition upon which you will work. If you provide me the money, I will do the job for you, or something stuffs like this. So these are all conditional statements. I am providing a condition. Programming language also supports this type of condition based working. So there comes the conditional statement. Before that, please remember something we studied earlier before, that in C a statement that is true is assigned the integer value 1, and a statement that is false is assigned the integer value of 0, and conditional statements use these values to take action based on what it is given. One thing I am just putting aside while I'm saying here, it's not always the case the conditional statement cannot accept any other number 2 3 4 5 or -1 -2 -3. No, it can accept, but for the beginner level knowledge it's just good to know it only takes true and false by getting 0 and 1. So let us not go much into understanding what happens. What I can say is 0 is always considered false and any other number is always considered as true, but let's not go there for now. We just need to consider, we should just consider for now is 1 is taken as true and 0 is taken as false. Now consider the following scenario. You are given the number obtained in a course. You are given any number obtained in the course. Suppose I say that in CSE161 course you got 62. So you are given this number, that you are given a number obtained in the course. Now you are given the task of finding the letter grade, that is which grade you have gotten in the exam. Okay, now how should you do it, or how should you make that happen? First of all, we know what grade is offered for our obtained marks. Over here I've yet given a table that if you get 80 to 100 you are A plus, 75 to 79 A, and that goes till 0 to 39. One thing to remember, that marks do not go above 100 or do not go below 0. So we know that grade is offered in obtained marks. By this I'm trying to refer to this table. Now suppose you got 85. What is your grade? So when I get 85, the grade I have achieved or you have achieved is clearly A plus, right? Why? Because 85 is within the range of 80 and 100, so you got A plus. Suppose you got 67, what is your grade? Well, now comes the real fact. Some of us may memorize it, some of us may remember that 65 to 69 range is for B plus, and hence if I got 67, it will be B plus. But what if someone does not memorize it? Think about it. What will you do if you have not memorized the grades? And suppose you got 39. So when you got 39, your grade will be fail. Now I want you to mainly concentrate on this part, because by example it's more convincing for me to say. As you can see, 67 is somewhere over here. So when I say that you got 67 marks, what will you do? I don't know about you guys, but if I have not memorized this table, what will I do is I will start from over here. I will first say, okay, 80 to 100 is A plus, but I know my marks 67 is not here. Let's check the second range, 75 to 79. No, my range is not over here too. Then I will go to 70 to 74. No, my marks is not in this range too. Then I will check 65 to 69. Okay, my marks is in this range. So what is the grade for this range? B plus. Okay, I got B plus. So this is how I will work it out. Now if you watch carefully, it was a sequential checking. First I saw that condition. What was the condition? Is my mark 67? Is my mark 67 is in between the lowest range and the highest, sorry, lowest value and the highest value of the range. I did this checking. I said if my obtained marks is within the range or is greater equal to the lower value and less equal to the higher value of the range that is given. Pause the video, take your time in understanding what I just said over here, then move on once again. So this is the conception that I used when I tried to find the grade. Now let's say the variable marks contain your obtained marks. In the previous slide it was only said. Now I am trying to assign a variable called marks that contains your obtained marks. Now look at this. If marks is greater or equal to 100, 80, you got A plus, right? No, your marks is not greater or equal to 80. Then if marks is greater or equal to 75, you got A. And hence you go through all these lines. By the end we have this whole scenario. Okay, please go through these lines, take your time once again, pause the video and try answering one question. Is this type of scenario enough to assign which grade you got based on the marks you have? Take your time, pause the video and see if it handles all the grades. There's no missing grades. Okay, so if it actually does that, now let's move on to the next part. I did nothing change. I only transform is greater or equal to this word, is greater or equal to this word into the relational operator greater or equal to. Nothing changed except you can go up and down and check. The whole thing is actually completely same. The only difference is I introduced the relational operator. Okay. Next, once again, the only change over here is I said over here that you got A. Now I convert it into a printf function, printf A, and this is all correct for the rest of the part as well. Nothing else changed within these two slides. Okay, now this comes. What did I do? In place of no then if, which is not a coding syntax or so, and in place of this if, I have converted those to a coding sample if and given this parts brackets and wrote the part over here. So this is now actually a code. This is the code of conditional statements, if else if else. Now see over here, just a little change and I have a coding part. So once again, if you watch carefully, I will make it again. We will explain it once more. After if, you must provide a first bracket and give your condition to be checked within it. Usually we call this type of things exp or expressions. If the expression is true, then we will print the value. If the expression is not true, then we will go to the next part. Over here in else if, once again there is another expression and it will be checked and it will be seen whether or not it is correct, and this is how the whole condition is being checked. So we will take more descriptive approach towards this state of condition. I am just trying to explain that this coding part is not actually out of the blue or something we are not familiar with at all. We actually do have some works with it, or we do understand it in just general language, and that is all. So just by introducing a scanf function up above, you can make this look more like a code. And then let's move on to the different kinds of conditional statements that we actually see in our day-to-day lives. One is the if statement, the another is the if else statement, and there is the if else statement, and lastly switch case statement. Very rarely used for multiple purposes. Mostly we use this type of conditional statements, but switch case is does exist. It's not something that is not present. So let's start with how if statements work. So the working principle of any if statement is, suppose that the code is started from an above line and it's continuing over here, it's got a statement over here, then it suddenly got an if, and over here there's an expression. Okay, why I'm always saying the word expression? Why why am I calling this place as a statement and this part is going for expression? Because expressions do not end with a semicolon. It is not an instruction like a statement that ends with a semicolon. Be always careful not to put a semicolon when you are using an expression. And what is an expression? Expressions are one or two multiple relational operator with logical operators. In other words, something that can be evaluated to either 0 or 1, true or false. Expressions are something that can be evaluated to either true or false. In general, that's what we call an expression. So let's go back to this. Suppose you are given a statement and you come to that statement. Well, let's start with the case where E is evaluated as 1. The value of E is evaluated to 1 and 1 is true. First we arrive at a statement. Okay, then what will we do is we will check if E, that is if this is true, and as you can see E is 1. When E is 1, then the code will enter the brackets and all the statements within this if part within this bracket will be executed, and then it will come to the remaining part of the code. This is when A equals to 1. Let's see another example where E equals to 0. When E is evaluated to 0, the code starts with the statement and it goes to check, but it finds that this part is false. And when it finds this part is false, it literally skips the whole part of the if. This is the body of the if. We say this is the body. The body of the if function is completely skipped and it goes to the next part. Next up is if else. Now you see, consider this, that you are trying to say if a student has passed or failed. Okay, I want to say if a student has passed or failed. Now any student who has not failed is passed. Am I correct? Each and every student that has not failed is a student who has passed. Now if I can somehow prove that a student has not failed, do I really need to check again if he has passed or not? Actually no, we do not need that. We can easily say that he is not failed, that means he has passed. And this is where these if else statements come to use. Okay, what it says that if you check and find that this part is false, then you can easily say the else part is true. Okay, once again, if you say that if part is false, then you can easily assume that else is true. So there is no expression in else, only an expression in the if part. How does it work? Let's start with when E equals to 1. When E equals to 1, we start off with a statement, then we check the statement which is true. Hence the sequence of statements within the if block, within the body of the if part is executed, and once it is done, we do not even look at the else part, we directly go below the else and start with the remaining part of the code. This is when E equals to 1. When E equals to 0, we start off at the statement and the code, and we evaluate the function, we evaluate what is if, but we find that E equals to 0, so it is the false. Then we go to the body of the else part, because I have seen the if portion is false, and once it is executed we return back to the statement. Well, over here I will once again request you to take your time and try to have some thoughts on what just happened and how it is happening. Next up is if else, if else. If you look carefully of this, you can find, though else if is actually a keyword itself, but actually the pattern is like this. Okay, so the pattern is like this, that I am trying to say that it is combination of two if else's, and actually that is what is happening over here. You can see that else if also has an expression. Okay, so what happens if this condition is false, we check out this condition. If this condition is true, then we enter this block, but if this condition is also false, then we go to the next condition, and this is how systematically, step by step, we try to follow up. Let's see an example. First up, when E1 is 1 and E2 is 1 as well. So first up, we follow up some statements, and we find E1 over here. Now E1 is 1 and E2 is also 1, but as we can see that this will be evaluated as true because E1 is 1 over here, so it will execute the sequence of statements over here, and once this is done, it will go right out to the statements, that is, it will skip the rest of the part. Now consider the scenario where E1 equals to 0 and E2 equals to 1. In this scenario, the code will start off at the statements, then it will enter the if block and check the E1. Now as you can see, E1 is 0, hence the evaluation result will be false, so the code will next go to else if and try to figure out what's the value of E2. Over here it can see that the E2 is actually 0, and hence the sequence of statements with else if function will be executed. And once this sequence of statements are executed, the code will once again go to the outside of the if parts. Okay, now, okay, there's a mistake over here, it should be 0 over here as well. When E1 is 0 and E2 is 0, both are 0 values, what will happen then? We will code the code will start at a statement, then it will become a checking point where we will see that the value of E1 is 0, hence it will be false, so we will go to the else if part where we will check E2. Now E2 is also false, so this part over here cannot be executed. Now as else if is also false, it will go to the else part, and there is no checking over here, so nothing will be checked, it will be directly printed, and we will return to the main code. So this is how if else works. Finally, we are at the switch case statement. In a switch case statement, the construction is completely different from how if else's work. For switch case statement, this expression over here has some limitations. You cannot actually provide an expression here. Over here you can only provide, in C programming especially, you can only give integer or characters. These are the only two acceptable entries for this part, and based on the value of this, you can write the value over here. What will happen if I suppose I write here 1, I write here 2, and over here I provide an integer number like 1. If this is the case, then this will be executed. And if I say that no, the switch case E over here will be 2, then this part will be executed. Switch cases work like this. So this is actually a general structure of a switch case statement, but over here all this part, if else and if else if and switch case, we will explain it, we will go through it using codes as well later on. For now, this is the theory part, and that is all for me for today. We will try explaining and see the coding working features of these parts as well. So for now, this is all. In the next video, we will start from what is the expression and how it is used as well, and next we will dive into nested conditions. So thank you everyone.